So I moved to Las Vegas '68, and there was a lot of music in those years going on. It wasn't the big corporate town that it is now, you know. And there was live music. Red Norvo and Monk Montgomery, and I forget the guitar player, had a 5 or 6 night a week at the Tropicana Hotel.
Did Joe Pass play in?
He would come to town at times. Steve Swallow came to town with people. I heard all the great bands, you know, Basie, Ellington, Woody Herman, Buddy Rich, Harry James, all those bands came through. All the great singers, Sarah Vaughan, Ella, Carmen McRae, Joe Williams lived there and worked in town, you know, and there was jazz going on, Carl Fontana, and I mean, it was just a thriving music community, and so I was lucky to get sort of the tail end of that.
When did you get the gig with Art Pepper?
Okay, Art Pepper came about because when I moved to Vegas, I had been there, maybe 4 or 5 months. I got on a show band gig with a small big band, like maybe a 10-piece big band, not a full 15, 16, 17 piece. And it had 2 trumpet players. The trumpet players were Bobby Shue and Chuck Finley, 2 of the great players. And then I later roomed with Chuck Finley. We had a house together. And they had both already played on the Buddy Rich band. So Buddy's band was coming to town, and Don Menza was sort of the straw boss on the band, and he talked to Bobby and Chuck and said, is there anybody, the bass player's leaving and we're looking for, and they both recommended me to Don, so Don told Buddy. So I got hired, and whenever you're hired with the Buddy Rich band, it was like, if he didn't like you, you'd be gone in a day or 2, you know. That was sort of the situation. Yeah. And I was just a young, naive kid. I didn't know. So anyways, I ended up playing a year on the Buddy Rich band, and Art Pepper was part of the band. In fact, it was when Art was still, he got strung out, and he left, and Buddy, I think, paid some of his hospital bills and saved and got a guy to play. And when Art got out and was healthy, Buddy brought him back.
And Buddy had a certain respect for some of the senior music. I heard when Papa Joe Jones was sick, he helped pay his hospital bills.
Yeah, he did some, you only hear this horrible stuff about him, but there was a side of him that I just have a love to this day. He also yelled and screamed at me, you know, deservedly. But I also have a side that there was a side of him that was just real, you know, loving and kind, you know. And he adored his daughter. And
Kathy Rich.
Yeah. So I've been very lucky to, you know, got into the big band era, you know, 1968, 69, did the year with Buddy, and rode the bus, you know, so I got a real taste of that whole. So
being on the bus with Buddy Rich.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Well, in the years that we did it, Buddy did not ride on the bus with us. He had a limo and a driver. The bus was sort of this haven for all of us to let our hair down.
Yeah.
You know, and we had these veteran guys like Art Pepper, Don Menza, Al Porcino, the lead trumpet player, when he was on the band. So there were these sort of guys that were and then a lot of young guys underneath, you know. Pat LaBarbera was there, Joe LaBarbera, you know, and that's how I met Joe LaBarbera. He subbed. I was 21, so Joe must have been about 19. He subbed when Buddy got sick and played because Pat, you know, Buddy knew him through Pat. And so we've had this friendship from way back 1968, 69, you know.
What was Buddy like privately? I mean, we see him with Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And you see him just killing it on stage. You hear those tapes where he...
yelling at the guys and cursing us all out.
What was he like with other musicians on the road? Was he talkative or was he quiet, introverted? Or?
No, he wasn't introverted at all. And he knew he was sort of, yet there was a whole side of him, like I had contact with him sometimes one-on-one without, and I really liked the band, you know, really had this appreciation for him. And he was great to me. Here I was, this young, dumb, naive kid, trying to learn to play jazz. And as I look back, you know, I thought he just hated me in the beginning. But if that had been the case, I'd have been gone. But I didn't have enough sense to see it, you know. and he somehow saw that there was some potential, and because later I saw other guys come and they were gone the next day or 2 days later. You know, he just, you're out of here. So I ended up playing a year, and after about 2 months, I actually went in and gave notice. I was so distraught and practically in tears, and thought, you know, I'll never be able to play jazz, and Buddy hates me, and why did, you know, and he came up and put his arm around my shoulder. I went and said, Buddy, you know, I'm giving notice, you know, I'm not cutting it, I'm not making the band. And I was, you know, 6 feet tall then as a kid, and he was always a shorter man, and put his arm, I got out of his chair, put his arm, said, that's okay, kid. He said, anytime you want to work with my band, you call. And I was just like, I thought he would cheer, you know, oh good, I'm leaving. And so I went out totally befuddled, you know, like, what's going on? Why isn't the guy? And so then it sort of settled down. He didn't pick on me as much. New guys, we returned to the States. That was in a European tour. We were actually in Copenhagen at the Tivoli Gardens, I remember. And I didn't leave, and he didn't say, oh, your 2 weeks are up, you know. So he must have seen things like that before and sort of knew from a, you know, a fatherly place, well, he'll settle down. And so I did, and I ended up playing another, you know, almost a year after that with him.
He is a wonderful brush player.
Yeah.
No,
there was a whole side of him like that, yeah. That he doesn't really get much credit for, like you're saying, Jonathan.
Yeah.
People just think of the big roaring, which he could do. You know, and he couldn't read note of music.
That's the other incredible thing. His memory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I went through the experience of rehearsing new charts and saw sometimes we'd have a drummer. There was a guitar player that was a good drummer on the band, and he played drums a few times. Sometimes he would hire, I remember we were in LA, he hired Nick Ciroli. Nick came in and after Nick would play 2 or 3 times, Buddy would get up and pretty much have all the kicks and from hearing it 2 or 3 times.
That's amazing.
And learn it that way. Yeah, he had an amazing recall. I got to do a record with Art Pepper. I think it's the only time that I ever played. Russ Freeman, you know,
was the pianist, right?
Semi-retired, and he did this record. It was Art's record. Me, Russ, Art, and Among Friends.
Among Friends.
Yeah, it's since been released in CD. Frank Butler.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on one of those real famous Miles Davis records with Victor Feldman, I think. It might be the Someday My Prince or some. It's one of those really, you know, from that earlier famous. But that record was it. So that was a thrill to get to work with both of those guys.